Hello and welcome to wealthbattle.com. I'm Kason.
And I'm Lisa.
And who is this crazy extremist over here?
I think it's some creep named Larkin Rose or something.
What a spooky man. So, Larkin, we were involved in the printing of the Jones Plantation novelization that you wrote while on set for the film. And wow, what a movie. Coming out of one reality and then moving it into a short story on YouTube and then turning it into a film and a novel. Like, what a growth of a concept. But I wanted to take a little bit of time and kind of talk about the fact that the Jones Plantation still surrounds us to this day. It's not something only in the antebellum South in the 1800s. It's something that's happening to so many freedom-minded people even today. They're trusting things that maybe they shouldn't trust. So would you mind just mentioning like a theme or two out of the book that had to do with currency? You had a lot to say about the dangers of whenever the authority take over.
Yeah, and of course in the movie and the book, you have a simplified version of the deceptions they do. But I think if people can see and understand the simplified version, then they can look in the real world and go, oh, are we kind of doing the same thing over there? One of them, one of the obvious ones is making up a currency out of nothing. Because on the Jones Plantation, they make something called Jones Plantation credits, which are just ink on paper. And Mr. Smith explains this to Mr. Jones, that they're not really worth anything, but if we trick them into thinking they are, then they're going to play along and they're going to be working really hard, essentially for nothing. And we can put them in debt. So the understanding of both how a currency works, because most people have no idea. They never give it a second thought. They just go, oh, well, here's money. Here's some green pieces of paper. This is what you earn. This is what you buy stuff with. They never question it. They never think about it at all. And then when inflation happens, for example, oh, I suddenly can't buy as much with this and I don't know why. Even the mainstream, you don't ever get an explanation why. They talk about it as if it's, well, this is just something that just magically, naturally happens. It just does. Don't think about it too much. And they don't recognize that that's somebody doing that on purpose, literally stealing your buying power. And the genius of it, the evil genius, is that you can be like tightly clinging to your money and looking at it and keeping it close, and you'll still get robbed because the value of what you're holding is going down because somebody else controls the supply of it and therefore controls the value of it. And when people are trying to plan their finances and don't understand these things, you don't even know what you're planning around. You don't even know the game you're in or what you're trying to, even just if we had a currency that was honest, I mean, there kind of isn't such a thing in the world. Well, there is, privately made. But it used to be, if you earn a bunch of money and stick it in your mattress for a later day, that's not the dumbest thing you could do. I mean, there's lots better you could do. But now you hide it in your mattress, 20 years later, a lot of its value is gone, and most people have no idea why or how. So the concept of putting everybody into debt permanently is briefly touched on in the movie and more in the book. The concept of a fiat currency where they just print stuff and say, there, this is money, this has value because we said so, which is literally what fiat means. Like, this is money because we said so. And people not understanding that, it covers a bunch of stuff along those lines.
Yeah, I thought your use of debt was awesome because we see that today. And there's a lot of conflicting information out there. So people have been told that just debt is bad, and what should we do about it? But the reality is a lot of people have been pushed into debt because they've been taught to overspend. And they're just unaware of the reality of today, their expenses, their income, the future, how inflation works. Like, there's so many parameters that have been made to seem really confusing, that they're just in this position where they're controlled because they can't dig themselves out of this debt hole. And so I really liked that. I think that's one thing that we talk about a lot at Wealth Battle is really understanding what is debt, what is leverage, like when are you in a bad place and when can it be a good thing?
Yeah, and it's like if somebody understands the game, it can't be used against them nearly as much. Like there's one scene where, Mr. Smith is intentionally playing these games so people can't get ahead, and then he's like, "Oh, I invented this thing called Jones Plantation credits, and I might lend some to you so that you can get some of the things that you like otherwise can't afford yet." So now they're in debt to the, evil slime balls, and they don't understand what forced them into that position, and they don't understand how to get out of it, and they don't understand the game at all. So they have no idea what to do about it. They don't even know that there is something to be done about it. And I think that's true of most people today, is they understand so little about the currency and the banking system and debt and investment and all that stuff that they don't, half the time, they don't even know there is a problem or that it's actually the result of something. They just think, oh, I guess prices just went up because something. And they don't know why, and they don't know how to plan to have that not be the outcome. To them, it's just sort of, well, that's just what was going to happen, and then it happened. And they don't get that there are things you can do that make it so these games don't work on you, and so you can actually benefit from playing the game the right way.
Absolutely. I really liked that shift with Mr. Jones because it really showed that if we start asking better questions, we can act like model the systems that we've seen in place. So why just fall prey to them and be bounced around by them, be affected or impacted by them, when we can actually operate in such a way that we have more freedom knowing those parameters and operate more like those people instead of being at the effect of them. So that was an awesome portrayal.
Yeah. It's fun to write a bunch of this stuff, and weirdly, it's fun to write the part of the psychopath explaining the games, even though he's like totally a psycho and does, I'm not going to give anything away, but you find the depths of his psycho and just how nasty he's willing to get to gain and increase power. But the fun part of putting that, whether in a movie or into writing in a novel, is just trying to get it so succinct and clear that normal people are going to read it and go, "Oh, that's how that works," and then it doesn't work anymore. Like if enough people understand the game, then it doesn't work anymore, and that's true of the entire political system, and specifically, it's very true of our entire economic system and the currency and the banking system. And that if people I think it was Henry Ford who said something like, it's good that the people don't understand the banking system, because if they did, there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning. I think that was almost a word for word quote. And yeah, they would, but as long as they have no clue, they don't know the game they're playing, and you're going to lose the game if you don't even know how it works. And that describes the vast majority of people and their finances.
And you can't really blame the population at large, because they have been almost indoctrinated to defer to authority, defer to the ones who took the right tests, who went to the right schools, who learned the right things, and say this is the only way that things ought to be done in financial land, even if that thing has only existed for 40 or 50 some odd years, whatever that particular retirement plan is. 401ks. There's a lot of kind of, I would say, like marketing / almost to the level of brainwashing that goes on. Like Wall Street is the best marketed casino on the planet, where it's just like, yeah, give me your money. It may go up, it may go down. Sounds like win or lose. It could run sideways. Sounds like draw. It's this whole scheme of let's put money in and let other people manage it. That's a really strong position for us to be in. And we believe that's really dangerous for people to do without having knowledge of what is that, why is that, who is that.
There's so many ways in which people just assume, well, other people know better than me. And there's actually a scene in the movie where Mr. Smith says, of course you slaves haven't been educated in the ways of like financial instruments and stuff. So I'll keep this simple. And then he, proceeds to sell his lie and his fraud. And I think that's the way most people view economics. Even aspects of economics that are pretty dang simple, and if you just thought about it for a few minutes, you'd be able to figure it out. But it's portrayed as this thing that, oh, you mere peasants can't possibly understand. So don't even try. Just ask the talking heads on TV or the politicians or your, mainstream investor financial advisor guy, who they're all learning from the same playbook and they're all playing the same game and they're all, they're doing it mostly looking out for themselves. I mean, like the whole Wall Street game of invest in this and invest in that, and it's just a guessing game. And yeah, you might as well just go to Vegas and blow it on some random guess there, because people don't know the game that's going on. And the mentality of people who think, well, they must know better than I do. It's nice to see that starting to fall apart. Like in the last few years in the medical industry, a lot of people learned, sometimes they say things that they know aren't true to enrich themselves and they don't really give a crap about us. Well, that's true of almost every field. There are lots of investment companies that they don't give a crap about you. They're trying to make money for themselves, and they're going to sell the same old way of doing things that works for them, whether it works for you or not. I'll trade your money around, and either way, I'm going to make money off of you. Oops, you lost because you didn't know what you were doing. Oh, well, we don't care. We're still in business. We still raked in our paychecks. And so I think this is a perfect time for what you guys are doing, to have normal people go, I'm not sure I want to just trust the experts anymore, because they've botched things up so many times, sometimes by accident maybe, and sometimes on purpose maybe, but maybe it's actually worth it for me to learn how this stuff actually works and take the time to, basically regain control over my own finances and my own brain. So I'm not just well, I hope these people make it work because I don't know what I'm doing. And I think it's time for humanity to kind of drag itself out of that mindset in a lot of ways, one of them being financial.
I mean, that's our goal. It's to really empower people with education so they can make their own choices. That was my journey. I mean, I went down this financial curiosity, inquiry, because it seemed like it was something that was beyond me. How could I ever figure this out? That's why there are experts. And the more I looked into it, I was like, no, that's bogus. It's actually quite simple. Like you said, a lot of the concepts are quite simple. And we really can be empowered in our own lives. On the flip side, if you really look at how currency works and the Federal Reserve, it doesn't make any sense. It really just doesn't make any sense. But it's not that we can't grasp the concept. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It's just all imaginary and insanely made up. So that's something that we do in the community. It's really how do we gain enough knowledge that we can make choices for ourselves, and the world's going to go, the economy's going to be the way it's going to be, and we're not bounced around by it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes a lot, just people reclaiming their own choices and their own understanding of what they're doing goes a long way towards making freedom happen. But if people are deferring to supposed experts on everything, health and finance and politics and everything else, well, they must know better than me. That's the position of an uneducated slave, where you're letting other people just lead you around wherever they want, and they're not doing that for your benefit. They're leading you around in whatever way benefits them. They don't give a crap what happens to you. And I think people are starting to notice that in all fields of life.
As we learn to generate value, so not just have some pot of money or some big, wealth that people don't understand. It's actually generating value on an ongoing basis is what allows us to actually have freedom, where we can interact with others, we can help others, we can educate more people, we actually can do more. And it's something that we take on. How do we be responsible for ourselves and have enough on our own to stand on our own feet and make a difference for others? And I think we have to be able to understand what's actually going on in the world to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say that it's very rare that somebody brings up an idea of, should I do X or should I do Y? and we actually respond with, you should do X or Y. Instead, it's, let's weigh the pros, let's weigh the cons. How do you check the math? It's like teaching somebody physics rather than spitting out an answer to solve a particular problem. And that's kind of the idea behind equipping people to enhance their financial arsenal, rather than give us your money, we'll handle it for you. I think that's a weak position to put people in. Boo! Authority arguments. Boo. Yeah. No, this has been good. Thank you, Larkin, for all the stuff that you've been creating and making. And thank you, Lisa, for all the people you've been arming and equipping. So, I mean, this is fabulous stuff. Anything y'all want to talk about before we go?
I think it can be scary for a lot of people to take control of their own lives, because when you do that, you take responsibility too. Because if you decide, all right, I'm going to learn about finances and what I should be doing, and then I'm going to make my own decisions, well, then it's on you. You're the reason for the outcome. And it's so easy for people to do the cop-out game of, well, I'm just going to defer to somebody else and not have to think about it. So it's the same in so many ways, that freedom can be scary because it means responsibility, and it means, there will be consequences to what you decide. But in the long run, it is way better if you're deciding, even if you get some stuff wrong and some things don't turn out the way you thought, at least you know that you're trying to do what's best for you and your family. The experts almost never are. They're trying to do what's best for them. And so having the courage to say, okay, I don't know everything, and I'm going to have to do my homework and stuff, but it'll be worth it. That really does change the world, when enough people say, I'm not deferring to other supposed experts anymore. I want to at least understand enough to know that, yeah, I'm not perfect, I'm not all-knowing, but I have some idea what's going on. I'm not just a pawn being played in a game I don't understand. And so, financial is one area that needs to happen, and it's really cool to see it happen. It's really cool to see you guys helping people, get to that point themselves.
And that functions as a amplifier for other projects, like being able to fund out the Jones Plantation printing and other things to come. That's really exciting stuff. Lisa, you were going to say?
Just thanks. Thank you for coming. Thanks for putting this content out there and reminding us that we can be responsible. Yeah, and think for ourselves.
Yeehaw, but then it would be anarchy. Yeah.
Well, in that case, this video will self-destruct in 3, 2, 1.